We've still got one more thing to talk about, and that is the provisional sprint calendar. It's confirmed now. The confirmed sprint calendar for next year. I'd say the most interesting addition to that is the Shanghai
That'll be really interesting.
That will be interesting. We've not raced there since 2019 in Formula One's 1,000th race, I believe. Bit of sort of random trivia there. All I can remember from that race was an amazing Alex Albon comeback drive, and then his teammate Danny Kvyat taking out Lando Norris sort of early into the race. So that was a bit of a swings and roundabouts there for what was Toro Rosso at the time. But we have got the Shanghai Grand Prix confirmed, or the Chinese Grand Prix, confirmed.
So that actually goes ahead.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's a very big decision considering that they've had to cancel it very last minute for the last 3-4 years now.
Yeah.
And so that's a huge decision made by F1 to have that as not only as a sprint race but the first sprint race as well. So that's a lot of responsibility there. And obviously you can gain a fair few championship points in a sprint weekend, and it can definitely make or break somebody's weekend in terms of the points lost out on a sprint race setting. You look how tight some of the midfield battles were, particularly towards the bottom of the field, and a sprint race might be a decent way for you to sort of get that edge over and not finishing in last place, get that extra bit of bonus cash prize money at the end of the season. But a sprint race at Shanghai, it's a bit of a Marmite track, really. You either love it or you hate it. It either delivers or it doesn't really.
Yeah, I think it's not that big of a gamble though to put a sprint there.
Yeah.
We've seen F1 in the past. They've given sprint races just sort of random tracks.
Yeah.
See if it works. If it doesn't work, we won't go there again in terms of a sprint. If it works, well, there we go. That's a great discovery sort of thing. So, and then I don't like this. It's the next race. So it's the China's the 5th race, the 6th race is Miami. So it's 2 back-to-back sprints.
There isn't one for nearly 2 months.
No, it's 5 races later, which is just a bit weird. Miami though, that's
could make or break
one,
Miami.
which is a bit. Yeah, I think this is a tipping point for Miami. If it doesn't even do well in a sprint, that's it. Really.
Because sprint races are usually, you've got to take it with a pinch of salt given the nature of a sprint race and the sort of heightened expectations of entertainment. They are usually quite entertaining to watch. But so as you say, if Miami doesn't deliver in a sort of quicker setting, with more drivers hungry to make more overtakes more quickly, if Miami can't deliver that, it has to go.
It does, yeah.
And there's certainly some Americanization continuing in F1 as we have the Circuit of the Americas as the second American sprint race on the sprint race calendar.
Second year in a row for that. So,
second year in a row. What I am buzzing to see, the last 2 sprint races, Brazil and Qatar, they've clearly watched those races and said, we cannot absolutely not axe them from the sprint calendar. They were box office, both of them, not just this year, but you look back at the sprint race. I'm thinking the George Russell one. There was a sprint race for Lewis Hamilton's comeback drive in 2021, or am I bugging?
Because isn't that how he got the points back
what,
for
you're
Max
talking about
before
Brazil 2021? That was a sprint race, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not just because he started last, went up to P10.
P5, then he got another 5 grid penalty.
Yeah,
started P10.
Yeah, there we go. Well, you're on the ball today, so that was impressive. But Brazil always delivers, and then Qatar this year was excellent. I have to say the drive from George Russell, some of the overtakes that he did were phenomenal, and Piastri obviously winning the race as well, throwing a spanner in the works in that regard. And then what's the other one? Austria.
Yeah, that's just always. I think that's another
small
third
circuit,
year in a row.
small race. Yeah.
It's delivered. I think the previous 2 have been okay. They've been reasonable.
It's certainly made the disappointing races that we've had there, a lot more forgettable in that sense. So you can sort of look past that a bit and say, well, the sprint was all right. So that's what a sprint race should be used for, to sort of make the tracks that you might not get as good racing round. You can remember it for an interesting sprint.
Yeah.
Maybe that might have the effects that Miami needs. Forget about the terrible racing on Sunday. Points were scored on a Saturday and there was overtaking. So who knows? We'll just have to wait and see.
They haven't gone with Baku again.
Yes.
Because that was not worth it whatsoever. And I guess we can just appreciate the race weekend, because Baku can normally be quite entertaining. Obviously, you've got the
it's given us some of the greatest F1 races of all time.
And hopefully we can just appreciate the Sunday with that, because last year was not the one, I can say.
It would have been interesting if they had given it another go.
Yeah,
you do think maybe it was just a scenario, just a compilation of it was just an ordinary race. You can have amazing circuits and just have boring races there.
Yeah.
It could have just been one of those weekends where that was the case.
Yeah.
If it had another sprint weekend, could it have been amazing? Who knows? We might never know now. I'm a little bit disappointed about Spa.
Yeah.
Spa was really good this year.
Spa was great. Obviously, Pierre Gasly top
P3.
3. Yeah.
That was obviously a little bit due to conditions. So it would be interesting how would it actually be if it was just a dry sprint race. Might not be that interesting.
Was Spa the one where was it Lando or Piastri was in? Like,
Piastri was in the lead.
Safety car and then.
Yeah, Max was just too quick.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was certainly a really interesting race with the conditions. So that it's a bit of a shame. Could have given it another go, but I can understand giving China one, and Miami obviously makes sense. Just give it one, see how it does. I'm actually quite optimistic for this sprint race.
My instant thoughts when it came out was, oh, shock, horror, Miami and Austin, 2 American races. But you made a really good point, Seb, the other day, where they actually enjoy it over there. I guess the theatrics of it went over here. We're not the biggest fans of it.
Yeah.
Actual F1 fans aren't, excited by the idea of sprint racing. But when you're in America, they put on the shows and they have more celebrities there. And I guess it makes it a busier F1 weekend overall because you have your Friday has something to actually, drive for. So does Saturday, and then obviously Sunday race day. So that is probably why. And to be honest, they can have it.
Yeah, I do think potentially if maybe Miami goes from the calendar, say the sprint's not great, whatever, I think they should still have a second American sprint.
Okay.
Las Vegas.
As
a sprint race.
Excellent.
That would be cool. I was kind of hoping that would be the case and they just get rid of Miami anyway. But I think that could happen.
Vegas can't be choosers, I suppose.
Yeah, so I'm really happy with the sprint grid this year.
Have you seen the rumours? I don't know if it's for this year or next year or it's confirmed. Let me know. But they change in the order of qualifying. So the sprint qualifying is on the Friday night. Then
I saw some rumours about that,
on the Saturday morning, and then you have the sprint race in the afternoon.
That would make more sense, and I think there was things about so you're actually able to not be in Parc Fermé straight from the Friday,
right? Yeah,
which would make more sense.
Yeah, the Parc Fermé rules this year and last year and the year before obviously have all been a bit sort of higgledy-piggledy, for lack of a better term.
Because that's one of the reasons people complain about sprints is that it makes the race, what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Whereas if you can come out of Parc Fermé after the sprint race and then change it for, I think qualifying would be after the sprint race and then the normal race, it does add a bit more of an unknown to it, and teams that didn't perform well in the sprint race could potentially perform better in the race. So that would be a good way. But who knows? Because there's still obviously rumours floating about that it could be reverse grid, things like that. We don't know yet. So who knows? Miami sprint race could be a reverse grid sprint race.
Well,
we don't know yet. It's probably unlikely at the moment because I think we would have heard more about it. But who knows?
We could never call Miami boring again.
Yeah, exactly.
The team principals are like Toto Wolff in particular has already started to mention it and saying I don't see the point of a sprint races without a reverse grid. So maybe if more and more team principals and more people with a louder voice say reverse grids please. And ones that are maybe drivers that are also fighting at the front. Say if Max Verstappen advocates a reverse grid, where it wouldn't benefit him at all, then it'd be amazing to have a reverse grid around somewhere like Miami. It would be bonkers. It would be chaotic. We'd have new race winners. We'd have all sorts of point scorers. It would heat up the championship fight. It would mean that Max Verstappen isn't totally perfect or dominant. Maybe chances are, you never know with Max Verstappen. He could just drive an absolute blinder. But that could be really entertaining if we get some reverse grid action. But again, that still seems like a bit of a pipe dream.
But also, it might not be as unrealistic because obviously one of the reasons is all the sponsorship and things like that.
Yeah.
But obviously, there's also those rumours that it could be a separate championship. I think that would be very cool because obviously people sometimes don't go for it in the sprint because it's such minimal points. I know Hamilton's come out and said, just it's not that important. Imagine you have a reverse grid and it's a separate championship.
So what would that entail? Would that entail a different prize money? Would that entail more wind tunnel time? How would they distribute why would they make that worth it for the people to compete
So if you're thinking, say, reverse grid top 10 for the qualifying for the race, is the sprint race. So you've got someone like Ocon or something like that starting the sprint race in P1, but you're thinking Verstappen, who's starting P10, he really needs to go for P1 because this is a separate he can't just rely on the points he's going to make in the race.
Yeah.
So you're thinking he really needs to go for it if he wants to win this sprint championship. So it's like a sort of like a cup competition or something like that, a separate competition, and you're giving more chances to say the midfield drivers to potentially win a drivers' championship or something like that. But would be a bit forced maybe, but
I know what you mean. But in terms of like, why is it worth it to have a separate championship? What is the reward for it? Because it won't be held as anywhere near as high regard as the main drivers' championship.
No.
Would it give the teams more money? Would it give the teams more wind tunnel time? As I sort of alluded to
I
earlier?
think that you have to have obviously not huge prize money, not huge wind tunnel. It can't influence the Sunday massively in terms of prize money, but it's sort of thinking, well, why do we have the FA Cup? It's not held as in high regard, but it gives opportunity to
Smaller.
a dream. So if you're say like I'm a Pierre Gasly fan, realistically, is he ever going to win a drivers' championship?
No,
but there would be this hope that he could potentially do something in this, and it wouldn't obviously be as much.
It is also one of the oldest football tournaments of all time, though.
That's
so
true.
It's a little bit different,
but it's
I get what you're
just
saying.
cup competitions in general.
I suppose so.
Or the Europa League or something like that. It's like it's just this added thing, and it means that say if we're going into the final race of the season, Abu Dhabi, and the drivers' championship in just actual F1 is all tied up, but you've got this sprint race where there's only about 6 in a season or something like that. You're going down to the final race of the season. There's always going to be something to play for.
I suppose so. Yeah.
Obviously, it might not work.
Yeah.
I don't think the drivers would agree to it because they're already not liking how long the current calendar is. Never mind a separate championship. Do you know what I mean?
But it would just replace the sprint races.
Okay, right.
So you don't have this separate category.
Sorry, I didn't quite
on different weekends.
Okay.
It would just. So if you have the sprint races now, they're reverse grid. They're on the same weekends they are. It's just the points don't go towards the main race, the main championship. They just go towards its own championship.
I mean, that'd be certainly how to bury the sprint race. That's for sure. If for those that are not too sort of fond of it, like, well, you know what? I'd say like I am, but I have warmed to them a little bit. But you know, I'm still of the nature of if it ain't broken, don't fix it. And I love the current qualifying format.
I mean, I hope we get back to a season. Obviously, that would have been quite interesting this season because of how Head Max was.
Yeah.
I'm hoping we're going to get to a championship battle again where every sprint race points matters.
Yeah.
And you know, when we seen in 21 where it's like a 1 point diff, like going into it'd be definitely interesting, and I hope we get to that in the next few seasons where, you know, these sprint races actually do matter, because currently it's the only good thing that's come out of last year's sprint races was Oscar Piastri winning his. So.
Because if you have a close actual championship battle, you don't need this, you know, this other competition sort of thing, because then, you know, it actually means something. But if you don't, in seasons like this, it would have been cool to have this ever competition. In my opinion anyway. I can understand why people would disagree, but I would think it'd be cool.